Here we are, guys, in part 10 of this story. In the Land of Waves, our favorite blonde encounters the Kyuubi. Watch the subsequent events unfold as Naruto uses the power that was sealed inside of him on the day of his birth. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, let's begin. It was the day after the funeral, and although things were hard in the village hidden in the leaves, everyone was starting to settle down and get back to work repairing what was destroyed in the attack. By this time, word had gotten around about the battle between Team 7 and the Ikibi of the Sand. Most of the villagers acknowledged Sasuke as the sole reason for the defeat, however even he knew that if it hadn't been for Naruto, the demon would have won. There were a handful of villagers that acknowledged that the reports were accurate and that Naruto had played a vital role in the defeat of the Ikibi, particularly the group of villagers that he had saved during the invasion and the same ones who were starting to have a change of heart about Konoha's demon brat. The battle was still echoing in Sasuke's head. Naruto had managed to show off some amazing abilities there, including the summoning jutsu and that blue sphere that Naruto had shoved up Gaara's ass. Sasuke knew Naruto had access to the Kyuubi's power, but the power Naruto demonstrated wasn't all Kyuubi. Making himself a Jinchuriki was completely out of the question, after seeing what Gaara had become, but he had to find some way to increase his own power if he ever hoped to avenge his clan and kill his brother. A summoning contract was on his list of things to get, and he already had an idea on how to get his hands on one, and that one jutsu of Naruto's had to be at least on par with his own Chidori. Naruto had found a jutsu that had surpassed him, and now it was Sasuke's turn to come up with something to surpass Naruto. Of course Sasuke knew Naruto, being on his team and after all the small competitions they normally had when it came to training. When he surpassed Naruto, Naruto would find a way to surpass him, and the cycle would just keep repeating, neither one of them willing to let the other one get ahead of the other. He realized that this was where he would get his strength from, the rivalry between the two of them. It was getting late in the afternoon and Kakashi had called a team meeting, not at the usual training ground, but in a private meeting hall in the Hokage's tower. There was something that needed to be discussed, and it needed to be discussed now. Team 7 arrived at the meeting with Kakashi already present. The fact that he was even early for this meant that this talk was going to be important, and the team already had the idea that it revolved around a certain blonde-haired teammate of theirs. "Kakashi, you're early?" asked Sakura, coming into the room. Sakura had just been released from the hospital after they reset the broken ribs she had from Gaara's sand. Thankfully, those were the worst of her injuries and she was just bandaged and told to rest for a week to recover. Quote, "Yes, well, I've been meaning to talk to you about the events in this past exam," said Kakashi. "First, I must say that I am actually impressed by your performance in the exams. To be honest, I didn't fully expect the four of you to grow so much." "Wait. Does that mean you didn't expect us to pass?" asked Sakura. This realization irritated both Naruto and Sasuke. "To be honest, I nominated the four of you to give you the experience of these exams. It is rare that someone passes on their first time around. However, I knew you were ready, which is why I nominated you," explained Kakashi. "However, there was one person out of you that particularly caught my attention, Naruto. I'm going to leave the five of you alone." "Have fun, kid," laughed Kurama as he retreated back into the darkness of his cage. "Hey, get back here. You're as much a part of this as I am," shouted Naruto, but he got no response. Naruto smiled and put his hand behind his head as the group's attention turned towards him. They knew this talk was coming. "When did you figure out?" asked Kakashi, referring to the Kyuubi. "Well, you see, it happened back in the Land of Waves," said Naruto, explaining the story of how he and the Kyuubi met. "Wait, does that mean you know as well?" "Well, I am your mentor, plus I've known longer than you have," replied Kakashi. "I suspected you realized it back in the Land of Waves when I felt that sudden burst of chakra. If it wasn't for the fact that everyone on Team 7 knew exactly what they were talking about, this would have quickly become a rather awkward conversation." Kakashi turned to the rest of the team. "Based on your reactions, I suspect the three of you know as well. When did you find out?" "Back in the Forest of Death, after Naruto tapped into the Kyuubi's power against that Orochimaru guy," replied Sakura. "After we were able to escape from Orochimaru and Gaara, we had already seen the chakra cloak that Naruto got and he decided to tell us." "Chakra cloak? Naruto, how much power has the Kyuubi been giving you?" asked Kakashi. Even he knew that with Jinchuriki, a chakra cloak required a rather large amount of power. "Well, He's been giving me as much as he can without damaging the seal, replied Naruto. He helped me out against Gaara and I was able to get the cloak to Two Tails. Kakashi looked at Naruto worried for the boy. Naruto, Two Tails is a rather large amount of power to use without having the Kyuubi influence you. If you continue giving into him, he could break free and destroy Konoha again. You see, the funny thing is that it's all a big misunderstanding, argued Naruto. Now Kakashi was becoming increasingly worried, but also a little curious. What are you talking about? Questioned Kakashi. Well, you see there was this guy that manipulated him into attacking the village. He honestly wanted nothing to do but mind his own business, but that guy came after him and forced him to attack the village almost 100 years ago. It was the same thing 12 years ago when he was forced to attack the village again. Because of that, he was sealed inside of me. He just wants to get free and mind his own business. Kakashi cut Naruto short. Naruto, that is most likely a ploy the Kyuubi came up with to trick you. You can't listen to him, he wants nothing more than to manipulate you, said Kakashi. He's not manipulating me. We came to an agreement and the two of us are working together. Well, at least the best we can with the seal as tight as it is, replied Naruto. And the seal is like that for a reason. Kakashi was cut off by Sasuke. Kakashi, I even think what Naruto was saying is true. Against Gaara, Naruto was in complete control, unlike Gaara, even when he wasn't fully transformed, explained Sasuke. Plus the Kyuubi apparently gave Naruto the power willingly to stop Orochimaru. Apparently he was trying to give me some sort of curse mark or something. We'll talk about that another day, Sasuke. Now Naruto, the Kyuubi is an evil demon and he's manipulating you to use more and more of his power so he can influence your actions more. I would like to believe that the Kyuubi is on our side, but you have no proof that it is. As such, I'm going to have to place a second seal on you to reinforce yours and block the Kyuubi from communicating with you, explained Kakashi, preparing the seals. At least he knew what had stopped Orochimaru from giving Sasuke the curse mark. He doesn't believe me, what do I do? Asked Naruto. Kid, make the hand seals you, Inu, Saru, Tora. Then put some chakra, about as much as you put into a normal summoning jutsu and say, contract summoning jutsu, that will summon the contract you and I agreed on, explained Kurama. Naruto did as he was instructed, with Kakashi wondering what the boy was doing and on guard in case the fox had anything to do with this. Contract summoning jutsu, he shouted as a rather large scroll, about the size of the toad summoning scroll, appeared before them. Naruto, what's the meaning of this? Asked Kakashi. It's the contract that Kurama and I came up with, said Naruto. Kurama? Questioned Kakashi. The fox, his name is Kurama, said Naruto. Kakashi was now a little more confused, but proceeded to open the contract. He was surprised at the contents of the contract. Basically, it clearly stated what happened to the fox when he attacked the village and why he was sealed within Naruto and the former Jinchuriki. It also displayed the agreement between the two that Kurama would aid Naruto in exchange for his freedom when Naruto died. Furthermore, the fox would not have a hand in Naruto's death and would furthermore do his best to ensure that Naruto would die of old age. The contract was signed in blood by both Naruto and Kurama. However, the one thing that caught Kakashi's attention was the name of the one responsible for the attacks on the village, Madara Uchiha. Naruto, how is Madara Uchiha connected to all of this, particularly the Kyuubi attacks 12 years ago? He should have died over 50 years ago, asked Kakashi. Wait, Madara Uchiha? Asked Sasuke, stunned upon hearing the name. Kakashi briefly explained to Sasuke about Madara Uchiha, including his defection from the village after the Uchiha clan allied with the Senju clan to form Konoha. He then explained the fight between Madara and Harashima Senju where Madara used the Kyuubi in that fight. I don't really know, but Kurama said that he was being controlled by a Sharingan wielder and that the power of that person was the same as the man who fought with the first Hokage, explained Naruto. Neither of us know how to explain it. I mean, someone over 100 years old should be dead, but Kurama thinks that this man is alive. Alright, said Kakashi. I'll have to look into that matter. Perhaps Master Jiraiya knows more about it. But that still leaves your little agreement. Who is to say that the fox won't keep his end of the bargain? Even amongst demons, blood contracts are binding, said Jiraiya, appearing out of the corner. Master Jiraiya, how did you get in here? Kakashi questioned. I know how to get around a few privacy seals, explained Jiraiya. Pervy Sage, shouted Naruto as Kakashi's sweat dropped. Pervy sage. So this is the person that trained Naruto. This is Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, thought Sasuke. Sakura also realized who had walked in and had punched Naruto over the head for referring to one of the greatest ninja in the leaf, as a pervert. Little did she know, that Jiraiya was in fact a super pervert. Stop calling me that kid, shouted Jiraiya. Inside the fox couldn't stop laughing. Anyways, I supervised Naruto before the exams. I checked and the seal is fully intact. He also seems to have rather good control over the Kyuubi's chakra when needed. Okay, but what is it about a blood contract with demons that is making you so sure? Questioned Kakashi. I'm no expert with demons, but I do know a lot about the seals used here. One thing is for certain though, if the Kyuubi doesn't keep his promise to Naruto and harms the village or anyone Naruto doesn't want hurt by him, the fox will die. It's one of the few ways a demon can truly die outside of being killed by another demon. Kakashi got it now. So is there anything to worry about? Regarding the fox? No. I think it is safe to say that Naruto will have controlled access to the fox's chakra. However, this does present other issues, explained Jiraiya. You mean? Replied Kakashi. Yes, said Jiraiya. Huh, what are you two talking about? Said a confused Naruto. Naruto, there are people in this village who will try to take advantage of you if they knew you could use the power of the Kyuubi. That's why I told you to be careful in that letter, explained Jiraiya. They have their own selfish agenda and will manipulate you to their will. Naruto, does anyone else know you can access the Kyuubi's chakra? Asked Kakashi. Besides Haku, Sakura, and Tem over there, no, said Naruto. Dobi, replied Sasuke to Naruto's insult. Although, I suppose Gaara might know, seeing as he is a Jinchuriki as well, said Naruto. Kakashi and Jiraiya both understood that. Okay Naruto, just remember what we said about using the Kyuubi's chakra. Keep it to the absolute minimum as it will cause problems if certain people in the village know, said Kakashi. Alright, I guess that means I just need to learn some more cool jutsus like the Rasengan, said Naruto. Kakashi nearly face-planted upon hearing the word Rasengan come out of Naruto's mouth. Kakashi asked Naruto where he learned that from and Naruto pointed to Jiraiya. He then asked Naruto for a demonstration and Naruto did so, surprising Jiraiya that he had actually managed the jutsu in the 3-4 weeks time. Ooh. Speaking of which, Kakashi, can you teach me the Chidori? Now it was Sasuke's turn as the eyes nearly burst out of his head. Sorry Naruto, but I don't think you are the type of person to learn Chidori, said Kakashi, receiving a few complaints from Naruto. Jiraiya promised to explain later and Sasuke was relieved that Chidori was one technique Naruto would not be getting. Jiraiya informed Kakashi that the village council had been called and that they had to leave to meet up. Kakashi knew what was going on, although he didn't think they would convene this early. As such, Team 7 had the rest of the day off to do whatever they wanted. For Sasuke and Naruto, this meant training. Sakura and Haku were different. Kakashi and Jiraiya entered the council chamber. The entire council was there, Koharu and Homaru, the Hokage's advisors, Hiyashi Hyuga, Chusa Akamaiki, Shikaku Nara, Inoichi Yamanaka, Shibi Aburame, Sum Inuzuka, Asuma Sarutobi, and Murakumo Kurama, the clan heads, a few members of the civilian council, the feudal lord of the Land of Fire, and some old veteran called Danzo. They knew why they were there. The village needed the next Hokage and the council had been assembled to select the next Hokage. Danzo spoke first, pretty much restating what most people know, that the Godime Hokage was needed at this time. While Danzo secretly wanted to nominate himself as the candidate for Hokage, he knew that he had little support. It wasn't long before Jiraiya's name came up as a possible candidate and most of the council, especially the feudal lord, agreed with this decision. I'm sorry, but I must decline. I'm simply not the type, said Jiraiya, shocking most of the people sitting in the room. A few members questioned his decision. But Jiraiya, you are one of the legendary Sannin, stated Koharu. With the trouble of Orochimaru, we need a strong leader. We need you. If you are not the correct person for the job, then who is? There is another person among the 3 Sannin, said Jiraiya. That is Tsunade. This sent stirs around the council chambers. While she was qualified for the position, no one knew where she was or if she would come back to the village. Jiraiya even volunteered to go and look for her, stating that he would bring her back. Jiraiya, if you are leaving to find her, then you will need to bring several Anbu with you on your search party, said Kaharu. Jiraiya took this a different way than Kaharu intended. Don't worry, I'm not going to run away. That's a little excessive to have someone watch over me, said Jiraiya. However, there is one person I would like to take along. I found an interesting new egg. For now, the council agreed with this. If Jiraiya was able to bring Tsunade back, then they accept her as the Hokage, if not then they would have to come up with someone else. Jiraiya went searching for his interesting egg, Naruto, and it wasn't long until he found the blonde exiting Ichiraku Ramen. However, Jiraiya noticed that he had a little stalker. A few meters behind Naruto, Hinata was ducking in and out into alleys and behind boxes, trash cans, and various objects as she followed her crush around, unbeknown to him. It was becoming obvious to Jiraiya that Naruto was completely oblivious to this girl. A closer inspection of her revealed her to be a Hyuga, and the lack of a seal on her forehead indicated that she was from the main branch. This would make for an easier conversation as the one he now had to talk to was one of his former students. Jiraiya jumped down to meet with Naruto. "Gah! Pervy sage," shouted Naruto. "Don't call me that, you little brat," shouted Jiraiya, wringing the boy by his neck. "Anyways, I was wondering if you were up for a little trip." "Wait, trip?" said Naruto. "Why would I go? I need to convince Kakashi-sensei to teach me Chidori." "Well, we need to find this woman. Think of it as a mission. It's a special trip, and we'll even stop by the red light district in Hima. Not to mention, I'll teach you more than Kakashi could ever teach you," explained Jiraiya, getting that perverted look on his face. "Woman, red light district. He just wants to do that research thing, doesn't he?" said Naruto to the fox. "Humans," responded the fox, trying to go back to sleep. "And also, this woman is hot, she wants to meet you," said Jiraiya, patting Naruto on the back. "You're trying to fool me, pervy sage." "Whatever you say, I don't want to," shouted Naruto. "Huh, she knows a technique that is much better than Chidori," scoffed Jiraiya. "But you're not coming. I guess I could ask Sasuke." "All right, let's go," shouted Naruto, getting that excited look on his face. "I'm going to my house to pack up my things, don't leave without me." Naruto took off quickly, leaving both Jiraiya and Hinata, who had hid in an alley and overheard the whole thing, in the dust. "Naruto is leaving on a trip," thought a depressed Hinata. "I wish I could go." Hinata began fantasizing herself on a trip, just her and Naruto for a few weeks. This caused her to turn red and nearly faint. Jiraiya caught the young Hyuga peeking out from the alley and just gave a slight smile. This was going to be an interesting trip. Outside the Hokage tower, Kakashi was leaving from the council meeting. Suddenly he heard a familiar voice. "Kakashi, my eternal rival," said Guy, putting his arm around Kakashi and radiating his usual guyness. Zabuza had come at a bad time to find Kakashi. "We never tallied the count from our little contest. I had 52, what about you?" "Oh, well, looks like you win this one, Guy," Kakashi admitted. "I only had 47. He remembered that he had to take some time off to assign the mission to Naruto, Sakura, and Shikamaru. "Ha, Leaf Ninja, you're so soft," laughed Zabuza. 52 is all you had. "I had 68. Kakashi was indifferent, but Guy got that spark in his eye that usually means people should start running. "Yes. A second eternal rival has shown himself to join me along the road of youthfulness," shouted Guy. Kakashi then went to Zabuza's side and spoke quietly. "If you want to leave the village, I won't stop you," he said. Zabuza was wondering what Kakashi was referring to. In his first couple months in the village, he already had the pleasure of being assigned to multiple assassination missions and even got a bloodbath-killing sound ninja. He hated to admit it, but Konoha was pretty good for him. However, when Guy began shouting again, he quickly realized what Kakashi had said. "The next time we meet Zabuza, I will show you the full power of my youth. Now, I will go do 5,000 push-ups for losing to you," was all Zabuza could say. What the hell had he just gotten himself into? Kakashi just smiled and walked away. Kakashi found himself at the local tea house in the village. Inside, the two figures from earlier were also sitting at the table. "Oh, hey, you two guys look good together," Kakashi said, seeing Kurenai and Asuma walking towards him. "Idiot. Enko asked me to pick her up some sweets," responded Kurenai. "Are you guys on a date? What about you? Did Enko ask you to pick up some sweets as well?" asked Asuma. No, sometimes I stop by to pick up stuff, but I'm just meeting up with someone, said Kakashi. I'm waiting for Sasuke. This caught the attention of the two cloaked figures in the shop. Huh, Kakashi, it's rare for you to be here first, not to mention twice in one day, said Sasuke walking up to him. He caught a glance from one of the cloaked figures in the shop. Something about this person did not seem right. However, before Sasuke could get a second look, they were gone. Kurenai and Asuma also noticed this and disappeared as well. The two figures found themselves walking along a river in the village. It's been a while, Asuma-san, Kurenai-san, said one of the figures removing his hat. He was facing the two Jonin who didn't look happy that he was here. You're originally from this village, why did you come back? Asked Asuma. Itachi Uchiha. So you are already acquainted with Itachi. Then I should introduce myself, said the other cloaked figure. Kisame Hoshigake. Now then, we have all been acquainted. Asuma grinned. I guess we were meant to meet. Now I have the task of taking you on. Itachi, your home village doesn't seem to like me very much, said Kisame. I've heard of him. Kisame Hoshigake. Originally of the Hidden Mist, explained Kurenai. A daimyo killer accused of starting destructive actions against other clans. The Mist has been searching other clans to find this slippery shinobi. You people are S-ranked criminals ranked in the bingo book, said Asuma. You are pretty brave to come back to this village after that incident, Itachi. Asuma, Kurenai, please do not interfere with my affairs, you will only get killed, said Itachi. So how do you plan to back up those words? Either something is wrong with the way you think or you are just too full of yourself, said Asuma, pulling out his knives. At the same time, Kisame reached for his sword. What is your purpose for being here? Kisame slammed his sword into the ground in front of Asuma. Much to his surprise, they didn't flinch. Kisame, just do what I say and don't let them get back to the village, said Itachi. But don't do too much, your work can be quite excessive. Kisame charged at Kurenai, chopping down with his swords. However, Asuma stepped in front, blocking the blow with his knives. Kurenai flipped through a few signs and began to disappear in a vapor. At that time, the bandages on Kisame's sword began to unfurl, revealing a scaly-looking sword. Kisame pulled back and the scales dug into Asuma's shoulder, leaving him with a minor wound. My sword, Samahade, is now off to slice you into bits, Kisame said as he made another slash at Asuma, further increasing the wound on his shoulder. Itachi and Kisame were wrapped up as Kurenai's genjutsu finally came into effect. They were pinned against a tree as Kurenai drove a dagger towards Itachi. She quickly found out that she was the one bound to the tree. Itachi had reversed the genjutsu on her. This is the genjutsu counter. She thought. Genjutsu of this level has no effect on me, said Itachi as he drove a knife into her, dispelling the genjutsu. She wasn't physically wounded because Itachi attacked her in a genjutsu, but she was stunned long enough for Itachi to kick her into the river, distracting Asuma. As expected, Kurenai, this is it for you. Kisame and Asuma clashed. Kisame thought that he was just out of the reach of Asuma's knives, but he soon found out that he had been cut on the face. Looking at Asuma, he could see the knives glowing with a chakra blade coming out of them. Sweeten. Water Shark Jutsu, called out Kisame as he launched a large jet of water at Asuma, shaped like a shark. It collided with a jutsu that was the same as he had cast. The jutsu is the same as mine. Oh, it's just you, Asuma said as Kakashi stepped between him and Kisame. At the same time, a shadow clone stopped Itachi from harming Kurenai. You just got here, huh? No, I got here just a little bit ago, said Kakashi. Kisame sent another blast of water toward Kakashi and Asuma, only for his jutsu to be countered with the same jutsu. Kakashi Hatake, said Itachi, turning to the real Kakashi. Kakashi looked at Itachi. He was facing someone with the true Sharingan. This was going to be a difficult fight. Now it's time to dance, said Kisame. I have a reason to show off my jutsu. With the exception of Itachi, this one has the Sharingan as well. He is well known as Copy Ninja Kakashi. The two people in the shop back there, I didn't think it would be Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigake, said Kakashi. Well, you know my name, said Kisame. I'm honored. However, you are asking for death. Anything to say before we fight? Move, Kisame, Itachi called out. He was a little shocked at first, but Kisame jumped to Itachi's side. Just as Kakashi's clone was about to take out Itachi, Itachi turned into a flock of crows, revealing himself to be a clone as well. Kakashi's clone was quickly dispatched by Kisame when he landed. "Remember why we are here," said Itachi, appearing at his partner's side. "Well, why don't you mind telling us why you are here?" asked Kakashi. "We've come looking for something," said Itachi. Itachi threw a few shuriken at Kakashi. If it hadn't been for Kakashi's Sharingan, the subtle movements of Itachi's attack would have gone unnoticed and Kakashi would have most likely died. "Sweeten. Water release barrier," Kakashi shouted, blocking Itachi's shuriken. At the same time, water drills rose up out of the water and clashed with the barrier. Thankfully, Kakashi was alright, until Itachi stabbed him in the back with a kunai. Kakashi turned into water, revealing himself to be a water clone. "Nice one," Kakashi thought. "Kurenai. Huh. This Itachi is just a copy." "Kurenai, get down," shouted Kakashi, leaping out of the water in front of her and tackling her as Itachi's clone exploded. Kakashi and Kurenai were uninjured, but Kakashi was breathing heavy as water rained down on them. Asuma quickly ran to their side. "Keep your guard up." This man became leader of the Anbu at age 13 inches, warned Kakashi. "Is that all he has?" asked Asuma. "No, that is not his full power yet," replied Kakashi. "You are not related to the Uchiha clan. We are true masters of the Sharingan," claimed Itachi. "Still, your body is suitable for that eye, but it does not contain any of our blood." Itachi had his eyes closed. He slowly began to open them. "I will show you the true power of the Sharingan masters." "It couldn't be," shouted Kakashi. "Both of you, close your eyes now." Kurenai and Asuma did so, noticing the panic in Kakashi's voice. Kakashi also closed his normal eye, leaving his Sharingan locked on Itachi. "Listen, both of you, under no circumstance shall you open your eyes. If you look into his eyes, it's all over. Just listen to what I tell you. Only a person with another Sharingan could probably fight this fight." Quote. "That is true, only another master of the Sharingan could challenge me. Some resistance could be made to this Mangekyo Sharingan," said Itachi. "However, this Sharingan has a special eye jutsu. My illusion jutsu Tsukiyomi cannot be beaten. Only a Sharingan user with the same blood as me can defeat me." "Sasuke!" exclaimed Kakashi, realizing what Itachi was hinting at. Itachi's Sharingan began to transform into a three-point shuriken as he activated the next level of his Sharingan. Suddenly, Kakashi felt the world around him grow dark. Kakashi found himself in a dark world. Wondering where he was, he soon found himself chained to a post with his arms spread out. Standing in front of him was Itachi, who quickly multiplied to become about 24 Itachis. Kakashi then felt a blade be jabbed into his gut. "This is the world of Tsukuyomi. All of space, all of time, everything matter, everything is under my control," explained Itachi as he continued to stab Kakashi. "For the next 72 hours, you will be stabbed by these katanas." For what felt like several hours, Kakashi was repeatedly stabbed by Itachi. "I must say, I am impressed that you managed to hold out this long. Only 71 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds to go," said Itachi. It had only been the equivalent of 1 second and already Kakashi felt like he was ready to collapse into unconsciousness. Suddenly, Kakashi dropped to the ground, sweating and out of breath. He felt like part of his soul had just been broken and that he was almost on the verge of dying. "Kakashi, what happened?" asked Kurenai. "It seemed like weeks in there, yet it was only seconds here," Kakashi thought, still struggling to stay somewhat upright even though he was on his knees in mental pain. "Why didn't he just kill me? Hey, that jutsu causes a breakdown in spirit. It's surprising he's still alive," said Kisame. "However, Itachi, you should be careful about using that eye, as it causes you harm as well." "You're looking for Sasuke?" Kakashi barely managed to get out. "No," replied Itachi. "The Yondaime Hokage's legacy." "The Yondaime's legacy? What do you want with him?" said a heavy-breathed Kakashi. Both Kurenai and Asuma had a feeling what Itachi was referring to. Naruto. Flashback. "It's been a while," said Kakashi to Jiraiya. "First time you've come home in how many years?" "Kakashi," said Jiraiya, "I am going to be keeping Naruto in custody. It was the role of the third generation to watch over him. It was a good decision by the Sandaime to have you watch over him." I guess someone is trying to get you involved as well. What is it you want to tell me? Asked Kakashi, who was leaning against a railing next to Jiraiya. I have been watching Orochimaru's movements since he left the village. That person will return to the village someday, explained Jiraiya. Since it's already clear, that's the beginning of something. At first, it was just about Orochimaru. What about him? Kakashi continued to ask. That guy joined a certain organization, said Jiraiya. Kakashi was now trying to get the details on that particular organization out of Jiraiya. Although I don't know the full details, from what I know, it's called Akatsuki. It's a small organization composed of 9 shinobi. So far, there has been little movement. Most of those people are listed as S-rank criminals in the bingo book. And Itachi is also with them. They are up to something. Recently, Orochimaru defected from the organization. The members move in teams of 2 at all times, assembling jutsus and whatnot along the way, and they are after the Kyuubi. Are you sure of it? Asked Kakashi. It's very likely, stated Jiraiya. After all, it's one of the tailed beast. It's some of the strongest chakra out there. Kakashi, this is Naruto's fate, to live always watching over his back. I will take Naruto and begin to train him. I want you to look after Sasuke. After all, Itachi is in that organization. End flashback. Your target is the Kyuubi, isn't it? Asked Kakashi. Both Kurenai and Asuma were shocked by this revelation. You have begun to move, you don't think we know. The name of your organization is Akatsuki, isn't it? Kisame, take out Kakashi, said a calm Itachi. It is time for these people to disappear. Kisame charged forward. Konoha Senpu called out Guy as he landed a strong kick to Kisame's side, sending him back to Itachi. Who the hell is this? Asked Kisame. The Leaf's prideful green beast, Guy proclaimed. Might Guy. What the? Better yet. Why don't I just mistake you for an exotic animal, said Kisame, still recovering from Guy's kick. As Guy arrived, Kakashi finally toppled over in pain. His mind had enough torment and needed to rest to try and recover, if possible. Guy, don't look into Itachi's eyes, warned Asuma. That's what happened to Kakashi. I already know about that. The way of fighting with Kakashi was done through the Sharingan, explained Guy. I already know how to fight him. Both of you, open your eyes. It's alright as long as you don't look into his eye. Using the reflection is the only way that you are recognized and dealt with. The way you talk about it, so that's how it's done, realized Kurenai. That's pretty smart, admitted Asuma. But there is only one person who can do that. There is a method to it, but we don't have time, said Guy. Get used to it now. Kurenai, take Kakashi to the medical center. Asuma and I will handle these two. I've already arranged for reinforcements. They will be here shortly. Hey, aren't you brave, taunted Kisame. Kisame, stop, ordered Itachi. We did not come here to start a war. Regrettably, let's leave. Kisame was slightly hesitant at first, but the two of them left, leaving the four-leaf Jonin without their opponents. Oh, sensei, said Hiyashi as Jiraiya entered the Hyuga compound. A few other Hyugas bowed to the well-respected Master Jiraiya. What brings you here? I thought you were leaving on a trip with Naruto. I was, but something else caught my attention. I'm still on my way out, but I want to make a slight change to who I'm taking with me, explained Jiraiya. I'm looking for a young Hyuga girl, main branch, midnight blue hair, you know her. Oh, you must be talking about my daughter, Hinata, replied Hiyashi. This was getting even more interesting. He had met Hinata once when she was a baby, but didn't recognize her after all these years. Well, I'm thinking of also bringing her along. I planned on training Naruto while looking for Tsunade and I suppose I could offer her some training, explained Jiraiya. I suppose this means you are going to teach them chakra elemental manipulation, asked Hiyashi. Jiraiya nodded. While the Hyuga clan primarily focused on taijutsu, their members were also trained to a certain extent in ninjutsu, to help offset the disadvantage that range presented to them with the gentle fist. Every member in the clan had earth chakra, which complemented the gentle fist. Like the earth, the gentle fist was powerful, firm, and unyielding. The gentle fist blocked the chakra flow of the body just like the earth did to the flow of water in rivers and streams. Hiyashi figured that it was about time Hinata began to learn the earth element to help her progress in the art of the gentle fist, and Jiraiya had been a good teacher for him in the past, despite some of his shortcomings. Alright. Just let me go get some of the family scrolls that I believe will help her, explained Hiyashi. It was at that time that Hinata walked into the compound. Oh Hinata, good you're home. Father, what is Master Jiraiya doing here? Asked the young Hyuga. Jiraiya-sensei stopped by to discuss a training opportunity with you, explained Hiyashi. Hinata was hoping that this was going where she thought it was. Now, Jiraiya was the one who taught me, and I felt that he did a very good job teaching me about the earth element that is common in all Hyuga. He's leaving on a journey for a few weeks and he has decided to bring you along and begin your training in elemental chakra. Hinata-sama, this is a good opportunity for you, I suggest you take it, encouraged Neji, who had joined the conversation for a few brief moments before leaving. Apparently, the elders of the clan wanted to speak to him about something. But why are you asking me? I thought you were taking Naruto, asked Hinata. I am, I'll be taking both of you with me. Is there a problem? Said Jiraiya. I'm going on a trip with Naruto. Thought Hinata, going all red. Eat. Was all she could let out as she fainted to the ground at the very thought of being with Naruto for the next few weeks. I'll go prepare a few scrolls for you to take for Hinata's benefit, Jiraiya-sensei, said Hiyashi. A rather cold and ominous look appeared in his eyes and his Byakugan activated. I'm warning you though, do anything dishonorable with my daughter around, and let's just say you won't have chakra flowing to a certain part of your body. Jiraiya gulped at his student's threat. Ah. A scream was heard from the nearby building that Neji had entered a few minutes ago. Jiraiya and Hiyashi rushed over to see what the source of the scream was. Neji found himself on the ground clutching his head and crying out in pain. You have dishonored the clan by losing to that thing, one of the elders said, activating the seal on Neji's head. What the hell are you doing? Shouted Hiyashi, bursting into the room. Let my nephew go immediately. No. You failed to punish him for losing and dishonoring the clan, so now it is up to us to punish him, said one of the other elders. Suddenly, the elders found themselves wrapped up by a tongue and thrown against the wall as the pain left Neji. Hiyashi looked back to see that Jiraiya had summoned one of his toads to deal with the elders. Hiyashi went to pick up Neji, who had fallen unconscious from the whole ordeal. He had finally let go of his grudge against the main house, and this is what he had gotten. Both Hiyashi and Jiraiya were disgusted. If I may ask, why did you intervene, sensei? Hiyashi asked. He was grateful for Jiraiya's assistance, but curious as well. As a seal master, it sickens me to see seals used in that matter, said Jiraiya. The two proceeded over to Hiyashi's house as the elders did their best to try and recover from being slammed into the wall. However, the force with which they had been thrown was rather large and they soon lost consciousness. A few moments later, Hiyashi came out with a handful of scrolls for Hinata's purpose, and one Jiraiya had never thought he would see. It was the scroll for the caged bird seal. Does this mean you want me to? Asked Jiraiya. Yes, if you could. You are the only one with the knowledge capable of removing the seal, explained Hiyashi. The elders have been growing out of control lately. Neji is not the first they have used the seal on unjustly, nor will he be the last if it cannot be removed. I beg you to find a way to remove it. The other side to Hiyashi's request was that he was now looking at every possible means available to prevent him from having to seal one of his daughters within the next few years. If this meant finding a way to remove the seal, then he would do it. Also, he had made a silent promise to his brother's grave a few days ago to find a way to free Neji from that fate. About an hour later, Jiraiya was at the gate with Naruto and Hinata, who still couldn't believe her luck. She would be spending a few weeks with Naruto. While Naruto still wasn't sure why Hinata was coming along, he was not denying that it would be nice to have someone who's not perverted coming along. Jiraiya was thinking of what was to come. He wasn't the author of the #1 best-selling adult novels for nothing. It was obvious to him that Hinata had feelings for Naruto, and it was even more obvious that Naruto didn't recognize those feelings, something that he would have to fix. It was time to play a little matchmaker. Sasuke, shouted Sakura, meeting up with him in the street. Sasuke turned towards her with his typical slightly annoyed look. Not only had Kakashi left him back there, but now Sakura was bugging him again. He was hoping to get in some good training today with Kakashi, but it looked as if that wasn't going to happen. Sasuke, I just wanted to thank you for saving me from that sand demon thing the other day, Sakura said. I'm not the one you should be thanking. If it wasn't for Naruto, we would all be dead right now, admitted Sasuke. No way, you're just being modest, said Sakura in disbelief. Sure, Naruto is getting stronger, but there is no way he could take on that sand guy. Even with the help of, well, you know. Sasuke knew what Sakura was talking about, referring to Naruto's demon. It's the truth, said Sasuke. While Sakura took everything in, Sasuke ran off to the training ground, hoping to actually get something done for the day. He found himself at the training grounds and soon began using his Chidori to determine the extent of the power he could unleash with that technique. Damn it, he swore to himself. What do I have to do to become stronger? Even with his source of power, he shouldn't have that much. I need to catch up. But how? Sasuke went to seek out Kakashi, hoping to get his sensei to train him a little. That guy still hasn't found Naruto, said Guy. The four Jonin were in the Kakashi's apartment as Kakashi was trying to recover from the excessive mental strain of their previous encounter. In this village, finding Naruto is pretty simple, Asuma explained. Plus Itachi knows his face. Guy hurried to shush him as Sasuke came knocking on the door and entering the room. Kakashi, he said, startled to see his sensei laid out on the bed like he had just been hit by a truck. Why is Kakashi sleeping? And why are all the Jonin gathered here? He questioned. Is the story that Itachi has returned and that he's chasing Naruto true? Aoba, another village Jonin, said bursting into the room. Idiot, Kurenai said, face-palming herself. Sasuke got that look on his face as he slipped into Avenger mode. Suddenly, he burst out of the room and began searching for Naruto, knowing that even Naruto stood no chance against Itachi. Sasuke arrived at one of Naruto's favorite locations, Ichiraku Ramen. He burst in there, but saw no Naruto. Old man, Naruto usually comes here for lunch, do you know where he went? Sasuke asked Kyuki. Let's see, thought Kyuki. Naruto stopped by just a few hours ago to grab some ramen before Jiraiya came and got him. Apparently they are going on some trip to find a certain woman. Jiraiya? Asked Sasuke, surprised that Naruto had left with him on a trip. Jiraiya is one of the legendary Sannin, explained Kyuki. Spotting him is easy. Just look for that big white hair of his. Much to Kyuki's displeasure, Sasuke went bolting out of the ramen stand in search for Naruto, without buying any ramen. Kisame and Itachi were sitting on top of a rock, planning their next move in search of Naruto and the Kyuubi. You can fight how and where you want, but I don't know, said Kisame. The time is wrong. To meet those two and kill them. It's a good place to fight, said Itachi. So they can't increase the number of people they have. It was good we found him at the ramen shop, but now he's protected by one of the Sannin, Kisame explained. That guy might be a match for the number 1 Leaf Ninja and the Mist 7 strongest. Yes, but it is said every strong man has a weak point. Unfortunately for Jiraiya, the first day's journey had been rather uneventful. Naruto had been blabbering on about why Jiraiya asked him to come along, and Hinata, who he hoped would act as a buffer and quiet Naruto down, was a few paces behind them, too shy to do anything else. Quote, "Hey, pervy sage, why did you choose me?" asked Naruto. What sort of jutsu are you going to teach me this time? Pervy sage. Jiraiya was irritated by this name. Hey you, don't you know what an amazing person I am? It's been said that I'm the Toad Sage. And that's not all. In the north, in the south, east and west, the legendary Sannin's white-haired frog summoning child. The handsome man that can silence a crying child. He's Jiraiya-sama, that's me, chanted the Toda Sage. Naruto just looked back at him with an empty look. Huh, he said. What are we going to do with this guy? I don't know, as long as you don't start introducing yourself like he does, Kurama responded, also slightly irritated at the Toad Sage. So, pervy sage, said an increasingly irritating Naruto. Why did you bring us along? You're doing a sage class in cool jutsu and we were the only who ranks high enough to get in. Hey. Jiraiya smiled, patting Naruto on the head. It's because you resemble a certain former student of mine and Hinata's father actually was a student of mine. I wonder. Naruto, could you be? Thought Kurama, who had also begun to pick up something familiar about Naruto. Naruto, Hinata, and Jiraiya arrived at their first stop, Hima Town. Hima Town was known more for its red light district and adult nightlife. However, the three of them were still able to find a normal hotel to stay in. Suddenly, Jiraiya's pervert senses were tingling as a beautiful woman, with a slim and busty figure approached them, sending them a seductive look. Naruto's sweat dropped and Hinata was left speechless. "Ah!" Jiraiya called out, putting on his pervert face. "Naruto. Huh." Naruto said as Jiraiya was trying to get rid of the kids with him. "Here's the key to the room. Go up to the room and refine your chakra training." "What? Are you going to do adult stuff? You pervy sage," shouted Naruto as Jiraiya tried to shut him up and shuffle him to the room. "Pitiful, absolutely pitiful," commented Kurama at Jiraiya. Naruto," said the shy Hyuga. "Wyd do you call the great master Jiraiya a pervy sage? Trust me, he may act all cool and know some great jutsu, but in reality, he's just a big pervert," said Naruto, Hinata's face turning red. The two of them found themselves in a rather large room and decided that they should just get working on their chakra control. Hinata had become rather relaxed in her meditation. Naruto, on the other hand, was in a heated debate with Kurama regarding just how big of a pervert Jiraiya actually was. "Damn. This sort of thing always happens when I'm training with pervy sage. Training my ass, I can see what he really had in mind," complained Naruto. Sasuke had just arrived at the same village that Naruto had arrived in a few hours ago and began frantically searching hotels for Naruto. "Knock, knock," was heard on Naruto's door. He's already been rejected and came crawling back," said Naruto as he went to answer the door as Hinata was awakened from her meditation. He opened the door to see Itachi staring down at him. Naruto looked up with a mixture of puzzlement and fear. Who was this strange guy at the door? Sasuke, he thought, as the man did have a striking resemblance to Sasuke. Quote, "Wait, it's not him, but he's got the same Sharingan as Sasuke. Kit, I have a bad feeling about these two," warned Kurama. "Could this really be the Nine-Tails child?" asked Kisame. "Nine-Tails," thought Naruto. "How did he find out? Was I not careful enough? Yep, this could get ugly. Naruto, we would like you to come with us," offered Itachi. "Come out of the room." "And Naruto. Who are these T2? asked Hinata, appearing behind them. Naruto was being hesitant here. The fox was constantly sending him warning signs, hoping to buy time for the perverted sage to pick up on something and maybe come to the rescue. With the presence of Hinata, he knew he couldn't lash out with the fox chakra. If there was one thing that Naruto had realized about Hinata, it was that she had been one of the very few people who had always been nice to him. He couldn't remember a time where she had ever insulted him or hurt him. In fact, she had tried to do the complete opposite and help him. Even he knew that she was one of the few people he could actually call a friend, even if she was a little weird, and he was afraid the fox chakra would just scare her off like it did with most of the village. "Itachi, it's time we got started," said Kisame. "We don't need him running around, we should cut off a leg." Kisame reached for his sword. "And Naruto," cried Hinata as she now realized the situation they were in. It's been a while." "Sasuke," Itachi said, his attention shifting down the hall. "Itachi. Uchiha," Sasuke said, stepping around a corner into the hall that Naruto and the two Akatsuki members were standing in. "You are. Today is a special day indeed. This is the second time I've seen another Sharingan user," replied Kisame. Sasuke's face lit up with a massive amount of killing intent. "I will kill you," declared Sasuke, activating his Sharingan. "Itachi Uchiha," said Naruto, staring up at the older Uchiha. "This is that man Sasuke is always talking about. Who are these people and what do they want?" You seem to be familiar with him, Itachi," said Kisame. "Who is this guy?" "He's my brother," Itachi replied. "This is the man Sasuke needs to kill," thought Naruto. "It would seem so. Where is that pervert? I can sense that these two are well out of yours and Sasuke's league," said Kurama. "It just sucks that your vixen is here. That's going to make me helping that much more complicated." Itachi and Sasuke locked eyes, both Sharingan looking into the other's soul. "I've been waiting to say this. I've lived hating you, and I've only lived to kill you," shouted Sasuke. "I have lived for this." Sasuke activated his Chidori and began charging full speed towards Itachi, tearing up the wall of the hallway in the process. Sasuke lashed out at Itachi with his attack, only for it to be deflected into the wall next to them. The two of them locked eyes, filled with hatred for one another. This is bad. Kurama, I need some chakra if I'm going to save Sasuke, Naruto said. With a quick flick of his wrist, Itachi snapped Sasuke's arm and sending him to the ground in pain. Sasuke, shouted Naruto. Summoning. Too late, smiled Kisame as he hit Naruto with his sword, draining the chakra that the kid had collected for the jutsu. What the? I can't feel my chakra, said Naruto in shock. Did you do something? No, it's that sword of his I think, replied the fox. Hey, my sword, Samahata, eats up chakra, explained Kisame. Now that your jutsu is gone, you shouldn't be any more problems. Now should I cut off an arm or a leg first? Naruto tried to gather some chakra as Kisame swung his sword at Naruto. The attack was blocked by a toad wearing arm guards. Jiraiya had arrived just in time. You don't seem to know much about me, said Jiraiya. I'm better than getting girls than they are at getting me. Even though I don't look like it, it's my specialty. Jiraiya had the woman from before draped over his shoulder. She was unconscious from something, most likely Jiraiya giving her some sort of drug. Jiraiya, this epitome of manliness. I will fall for no woman's feminine wiles, shouted Jiraiya, beginning one of his introductions. When you're someone like me, you only have to flash that sexiness to have women fall to your feet. After all was said and done, he was in his pose. Hinata's sweat dropped at Jiraiya's introduction. Kit, I've changed my mind, said the fox, who almost face-planted into the floor of Naruto's mindscape. I think we are better off going with that Uchiha and fish face. Sadly, Naruto kind of agreed. Oh yeah, shouted Naruto. That girl just winked at you and you were scampering after her. And now you're trying to look all cool and classy, you pervy sage. Hey, can't you stop calling me that in front of others, asked Jiraiya. Hinata was slowly realizing that Master Jiraiya may in fact be a big pervert. Why did she come? Oh yeah, Naruto. Screw that, it's those guys over there we should be worrying about, pervy sage, shouted Naruto. Sasuke was still on the ground in pain as Kisame and Itachi turned their attention to the Sannin. So it's one of the Sannin, the great Jiraiya, eh? Asked Kisame. You like beautiful women but we weren't thinking that such a simple method could successfully stall you. Jiraiya set the woman down. So you guys used genjutsu on her to get her to draw me away. Not a very manly way of doing things, claimed Jiraiya. So you really are after Naruto. This realization shook Naruto. Itachi looked at Jiraiya. No wonder Kakashi knew about this, you were the source of his information. Said Itachi. To abduct Naruto. Those were the orders given to us by the higher echelons in our organization. Abduct and Naruto, said Hinata, looking over at Naruto. You won't get Naruto, said Jiraiya. Because you two are going to die right here at my hand. Don't do it, Sasuke shouted, standing up. This guy is mine. The hatred and rage was gathering inside him as he looked at his brother, the man who killed his entire clan. I'm not interested in you now, Sasuke, replied Itachi. Sasuke charged at Itachi in a blinded rage. Itachi quickly countered, slamming his fist into Sasuke's stomach, causing him to drop over and cough up blood. Itachi slammed Sasuke into a wall, causing him to cough up even more blood, and Naruto was forced to look on as his teammate was beaten to a pulp. Damn it. There is still such a gap, thought Sasuke as he was getting thrown into the wall. Quote, why is there such a big difference? Sasuke fell to the floor, exhausted and ready to pass out from the beating. However, Itachi wouldn't even afford him that luxury. He picked up Sasuke and stared into his younger brother's eyes, activating his Mangekyo Sharingan. Sasuke woke inside the Genjutsu world of Tsukiyomi. In front of him was his entire clan on their knees with Itachi standing behind them, sword in hand. Sasuke, for the next 24 hours, you will relive that day. With that, Itachi began to slaughter the Uchiha clan in front of Sasuke. Again, RHHHHH, Sasuke screamed out in pain. Itachi, I advise you against using your eyes so many times in a single day, warned Kisame. Naruto began running towards them, hoping to save Sasuke. Assholes. Jiraiya made a few hand seals and suddenly the hallway began to turn into a slimy pink tube. It was like they were inside something's stomach. Ninpu. Toadmouth bind, shouted Jiraiya. Too bad, Itachi, Kisame. You are already inside my stomach. Sasuke, why are you so weak? Itachi asked as the wall began absorbing Sasuke. Still not enough. Hatred. I summoned the esophagus of the giant toad from Myoki Mountain, exclaimed Jiraiya. I hope you wanted criminals enjoy being food for Iwagama. Naruto began freaking out and Hinata was even a bit grossed out by what was happening. Don't worry you two. Just stay still. It's my jutsu. Kisame and Itachi tried to flee before they were digested. The wall of flesh is closing in, shouted Kisame, panic setting in. Jiraiya and Naruto followed them, only to see a hole in the wall with black flames burning around the edge. The black flame of Amaterasu. Surely the wall was torn apart by them, Jiraiya realized. He pulled a scroll out and began to scribe a seal on it. After making a quick hand seal, the black flames were absorbed into it. Fuinjutsu. Fire seal, highest rank. Jiraiya recalled the esophagus and the hallway returned to normal. Sasuke was sitting against a way. He was in the same state as Kakashi was after taking the mental beating of Tsukiyomi. Dynamic entry, shouted Guy as he lashed out at an unsuspecting Jiraiya, sending him back into the wall. After a quick apology, Jiraiya informed Guy that he needed to be taken back to the hospital. Naruto was wondering if Sasuke would be okay and Jiraiya informed him that it was now more imperative that they found Tsunade as she was the only one who could fully heal Sasuke. Guy also mentioned that Kakashi had suffered from the same jutsu. Naruto tried to talk Jiraiya into letting him go after the two Akatsuki, but Jiraiya tried to shut him up. After some talking, Jiraiya finally got Naruto to realize that their best bet was to find Tsunade. Guy departed to take Sasuke back to the hospital to try and recover. The three set off on their journey. And now Hinata was the one left wondering. Master Jiraiya, what did those men want with Naruto? She finally asked. It was now that Jiraiya was regretting bringing her along. It's not so much of Naruto that they were after, it's well. I can't really say right now, said Jiraiya. Is this about the KK Kyuubi? Asked Hinata. Everyone was shocked, frozen in place. Even Kurama was hit by this. How? Now it was Naruto's turn to stutter. When I was 8, one of the clan elders. They told me, hoping that I would hate you and stay away from you, explained Hinata. But I could never hate you Naruto. That only made me admire you more. You had a demon inside yet you were always so positive. Jiraiya knew this would make good ammunition against the Hyuga elders should it be needed. Naruto's jaw dropped and so did the fox's. This vixen is definitely a keeper, Kurama thought to himself. Naruto felt something warm inside him. He had no clue what it was, but it was there. It had came from Hinata's little confession about knowing his secret and the fact that even still, she wanted to be his friend. Hinata, thank you. You don't know how much that means to me, replied Naruto. Jiraiya hated to ruin the moment, but they had to move on quick. Oh, and Hinata you can't refer to the Kyuubi inside of Konoha. We usually just call him Fuzzball, joked Jiraiya. Let me out so I can rip that mouth of his off. I'm the demon nine-tailed fox, not Fuzzball, shouted Kurama inside Naruto. Hee, you made Fuzzball angry, laughed Naruto. Kurama just growled at the two. Oh lighten up, it's just a joke. Wait. Why you see can actually talk to the K Kyuubi? Asked Hinata. Naruto sighed, he would have to do something about recording this conversation. As they traveled, Naruto told Hinata basically the same thing he had told everyone else so far, that the fox was just misunderstood and that he really wasn't evil. Hinata, being Hinata, easily accepted what Naruto was saying. This was before Jiraiya confirmed to her the power of the contract between the two. Alright, but the Kyuubi, what exactly is he anyways? The Kyuubi is an ancient demon. People of old would fear it, explained Jiraiya. As to why they would want it, I don't know. However, I guess they are trying to find a way to harness and control its powers. They are going to keep coming after you, but I'll be there to protect you so you don't. And that's why I need to become stronger, claimed Naruto. They hurt Sasuke and Kakashi sensei and they would no doubt hurt other friends of mine. I need to become stronger so that I can protect them. Plus, I can't just let them have Kurama. I made him a promise and I won't let it go because that's my Nindo. This is well strengthened Hinata's resolve. She was going to get stronger with Naruto so that he wouldn't have to face this Akatsuki group alone. Hey, now that's Naruto for you, thought Jiraiya. Just remember, we need to make you strong. You can't continue relying on the Kyuubi's power. I think the two of you realize that, or else you would have gone full Kyuubi mode back there. Don't worry, I said I was going to make you strong and I will. Alright. Then let's hurry and get started on finding this Tsunade so she can heal Sasuke and Kakashi-sensei and we can get to training, shouted a hyperactive Naruto. He calmed down as something came to mind. So this Tsunade, she's one of the Sannin. Like you. Then how old is she? My age, Jiraiya smiled. Wow, she's old then. What's she like? Asked Naruto. Well, she's kinda annoying. She's a compulsive gambler and well known in lots of countries. Jiraiya continued on with his explanation. Well, she'll be easy to find if she's famous, said Naruto. Oh yeah, she's famous alright. She's no far and wide as the legendary, said Jiraiya. I want to turn all my money into chips, shouted Tsunade, slamming a case full of money down onto the table in a local gambling hall. The guys around the table just looked at her with odd looks. Who is she? Whispered one of the men to another. This person has a nickname, don't you know? Responded one of the other men. Nickname? Replied the first man. Yeah, the legendary sucker. The man said. Suddenly all the other men sitting at the table had a big grin beginning to show on their face. Tsunade's assistant, Shizune, started freaking out, realizing that they knew who she was and that they were going to be taking full advantage of that. She may have a name, but I don't think she'll be easy to find, said Jiraiya. She ain't the type to age gracefully, so she'll probably be using a special jutsu to change her appearance. She may be 50, but she'll probably look to be in her mid-20s. And, I've been hearing that she changes her age from 10 to 40 to 20 to get away from her gambling debts. Humans. Some just can't seem to accept mortality, snickered the fox. Hey, so how old are you? Asked Naruto. Me. Well, I've been around for a little over 1,000 years, responded the fox. Wow, said Naruto in awe. So how old is your father? Well, the one I considered my old man died almost 1,000 years ago. He was immortal like you, but the first thing that I respected. I have some stories, but I'll save those for another day, responded Kurama. Tsunade as a kid loved to gamble more than anything, continued Jiraiya. Unfortunately, she sucked at it in both skill and luck. She earned the nickname, Sucker, a long time ago. Back then, she was always borrowing money and then running away. Those were the days. Hey, so you must miss those days, said Naruto. Well, so how are we going to find her then? Since we are going by foot, there are many ways of doing this. Jiraiya said vaguely. That means we don't know. So how long is it going to take? Asked Naruto. We don't have much time to spare, and we will be spending most of that time, stated Jiraiya. On the two of you, Naruto and Hinata were slightly confused as they came to the edge of the next town. After checking into the hotel, Jiraiya took the two genin to the outskirts of town. So, pervy sage, what's this training? What makes it better than Chidori? Well, you could say this is the same type of training that Sasuke went through to get his Chidori, explained Jiraiya as Naruto got excited. Now, the first thing I want for you to do is teach Hinata here, your shadow clone jutsu. What? They both said in unison. I guess I'm fine showing it to her, but why does she need the shadow clone jutsu? Asked Naruto. You don't know about the other benefit of using shadow clones? Asked Jiraiya. Naruto questioned him as to what the other benefit was. Jiraiya explained to Naruto that any knowledge and experience gained by the clones would transfer back to the original. This training requires a lot of time, so we are going to use shadow clones to make the most of it. Think of it this way, if you train for an hour with 3 clones, that would be the same as 3 hours of training. Wow! Exclaimed Naruto. So if I were to train with over 100 clones, that would be 100 hours of training in an hour. 100 clones. 100 Narutos. Hinata was having trouble comprehending this without turning bright red. Of course, 100 clones was nothing for Naruto, who created over 1,000 to beat up Mizuki once. If Hinata thought of that, she would most certainly faint. Quote, more or less, but you don't get the experience until you dispel them, explained Jiraiya. This method will help both of you and you two will be using shadow clones to master each step of this training. I don't expect Hinata to be able to create anywhere near as many clones as you can, but even 2 or 3 will help. Alright, let's get to it then, shouted Naruto. Jiraiya went into the town to collect information on Tsunade's whereabouts, leaving Naruto to work with Hinata for the rest of the day. Their training continued for the next day that they were in town, and on that evening, Hinata finally got it as she stared at an exact, physical copy of herself. Despite not having a large chakra reserve, her superior control greatly helped with creating the clone. "Yeah, you did it, Hinata," shouted Naruto, testing that the clone was actually solid. Like its original, the Hinata clone even possessed the ability to faint when Naruto got too close. For the first time in her life, she actually saw what it was like to faint in front of Naruto, as the original Hinata was a little embarrassed that she had been doing that now for a few years. "Well, it looks like the two of you are done," said Jiraiya, returning to the outskirts of town to join them. He looked down to see the unconscious clone before it was dispelled. "Why yes, well I can only make a few, and no more than two," said Hinata as she felt a rather large drain on her chakra reserves. "So does this mean we can start working on the Chidori training?" asked Naruto, eager to get on with this awesome training Jiraiya had promised. "Like I said, you are probably not the right type for Chidori," restated Jiraiya. "Huh, what do you mean by that?" asked Naruto. "For jutsu, there are 5 basic elements: fire, wind, water, lightning, and earth. These 5 elements are the foundation for all jutsu," said Jiraiya. "Most people have chakra that naturally leans strongly towards one of these natures. For example, the Uchiha clan was full of people with the fire affinity." "Wait, but what about Sasuke? I thought Chidori was a lightning technique," asked Naruto. "Yes, well it turns out that Sasuke also has a strong lightning nature to his chakra as well," explained Jiraiya. "So it's possible to have more than one element?" asked Naruto. "Yes. In fact, most Jonin are able to use 2 or more elements. For example, my main element is fire, but I can also use earth and water elements with my jutsu," said Jiraiya. "Most people have one nature that they are particularly strong in, and some people even have 2. Just because you are strong in one element, doesn't mean you can't use other elements. With the appropriate training, you can master elements that you are not as strong with, although they will never be as strong as your main element." "Alright, I think I get it. So I have a main element, but I can learn other ones as well." Jiraiya nodded. "Wow. Hey Hinata, do you know what element your chakra has?" Well, my entire clan has an earth element, so I should as well," said Hinata. "I hope my element is earth. What would father say if it wasn't? If I don't have an earth element, then would he see me as a complete failure again?" worried Hinata. "You mean you don't know? Well then how do we check? And what is my element, pervy sage?" said Naruto, irritating Jiraiya. "Calm down Naruto. We'll check with these cards." Jiraiya pulled out a few chakra litmus cards from his pouch. Jiraiya channeled some chakra into them and the paper burst into flames. "Just channel some chakra into them. If you're fire-natured, the card will burn. Wind cuts it in half. Lightning crumples the paper. Water gets it wet. Earth crumbles to dust." Jiraiya handed a card to Naruto and Naruto did as instructed, channeling chakra into the paper. When he looked at the paper, it was cut in half, indicating a wind nature. Wind. It actually fits you. You seem to prefer close-ranged attacks, and wind will enhance the power of those attacks for you. At the same time, it also does give you some mid-range capabilities. But wait, you don't have a wind element. How are you going to teach me? Asked a concerned Naruto. Don't worry, I had a past student with a wind nature and I trained him just fine. Jiraiya reassured Naruto. Just to let you know, I also suspect you have a strong fire nature as well. Just ask Fuzzball about that sometime when you get a chance. Wow. Really? Shouted Naruto. That's awesome. I'm going to get so powerful. Sasuke won't know what hit him. Jiraiya turned to Hinata and handed her a card. Please be Earth. Please be Earth, she thought, closing her eyes and channeling chakra into her card. Wow Hinata, that's great. Shouted Naruto as Hinata opened her eyes. Her card had not crumbled to dirt and instead it had split into two like Naruto's. Jiraiya's eyebrow rose as he examined what had just piqued his interest. This little Hyuga had a wind element, just like he had hoped Hiyashi would have had. Hinata began to panic a little. Oh no, I don't have an earth element. What's father going to say? Worried Hinata. Why's that? Asked Naruto, now curious as to why she was freaking out. My clan is really strict with this sort of thing, she said. The elders will surely label me AF failure now. What? That's just dumb. Wind is a great element. Hey pervy sage, what's good about the wind element again? Jiraiya nearly face planted. Jiraiya bent down, trying to cheer the now depressed Hinata up. The wind element is almost like a blade. To be honest, I was hoping that Hayashi would have had a wind element, and I can see the potential it has within the gentle fist. The idea is to make the chakra as sharp and thin as possible, increasing its cutting power. Why you mean like my protection of the 8 trigrams? Asked Hinata, remembering how she had developed this. This actually interested Jiraiya even more, and he requested her to show him the technique. After analyzing the attack, there was indeed wind chakra mixed into it. To have been able to unknowingly transform her chakra like that, Hinata was a natural when it came to the cutting nature of wind. But Jiraiya-sama, wyd did you want my father to have a wind element? Think of it this way. The gentle fist relies on blocking the tenketsu and chakra flow of opponents, just like the earth blocks the flow of water in a stream. That's why they Hyuga have strong earth elements, explained Jiraiya. Now, if you add wind chakra to your gentle fist, you wouldn't be attacking the chakra network with a simple burst of chakra, but rather a blade of it. It's the same way as if I took a knife to a blood vessel inside you and cut it. However, unlike blood vessels, the chakra network is harder to repair. With enough refinement, you could develop a style that effectively destroys the opponent's chakra network rather than blocking it. Really? Hinata sounded surprised and now a bit excited. For ages, the Hyuga have been looking for a way to actually destroy an opponent's chakra network instead of just blocking it. Whoa. That's so cool, Hinata, exclaimed Naruto, causing the girl to blush a little. Hey pervy sage, if the wind element is that awesome, how come I haven't seen it more? Jiraiya chuckled a little. A wind affinity is rare. As far as I know, there is only one other person in Konoha with a wind chakra nature. Really? Who? Asked Naruto. Asuma Sarutobi, stated Jiraiya. If you want, you can go ask him for advice when we get back, but like I said, I used to have a student with a wind element, so I know how to teach the two of you. Well, what are we waiting for then? What do we do? Shouted a now hyper Naruto. Hinata smiled at the energy displayed by her crush. Jiraiya went over to a nearby tree and picked a few leaves off the tree and handed it to the two of them. Using only your chakra, I want the two of you to cut the leaf into 2. I recommend you each use shadow clones, as that will increase your experience. With that, Jiraiya left the two to their training, much to Naruto's displeasure. Regardless, the two began training for the rest of the evening, creating their shadow clones. For Naruto, he had just over 100 clones, while Hinata only had 2 other clones, which had started off the session unconscious as the sight of 100 Narutos. It wasn't long until Hinata had her leaf cut in half. Having already developed her protection of the 8 trigrams, she was already able to sharpen her chakra to the point where she could cut the leaf with ease. Neji had just woken up, the excruciating pain still pounding in his head from when the elders activated his seal. He heard a knock on his door and instructed whoever it was to come in. It was Hiyashi. Neji wasn't sure what to think right now. On one side, Hiyashi had talked to him the other day and was finally glad that Hiyashi had revealed the truth about that night. On the other hand, the main family had just used the seal on him. Quote, Neji, I came here to apologize for the inappropriate and unjust actions of the elders, apologized Hiyashi. However, there is something I wish to discuss with you. Come to training ground 16 in an hour. With that, Hiyashi left and Neji was left contemplating what it was that his uncle wanted to talk to him about. About an hour later, Neji was standing at training ground 16 with Hiyashi approaching him. Hiyashi activated his Byakugan and scanned the surrounding area. They were alone. Uncle, if I may ask, what is this about? Neji, I came here to tell you something. Something regarding the seal on your head, said Hiyashi. This instantly caught Neji's full attention. As you know, it is the elders who are in charge of branding Hyuga with the caged bird seal, and recently, they have become more carefree about activating it. I just had a little chat with them and they have agreed to lay off activating the seal. Neji felt relieved by this. I am thankful for that, but what is to stop them in the future if they ever start abusing it again? As of now, not much. The real reason I asked you to come here is that I am currently looking into a way to remove the seal. This shocked Neji. The removal of the caged bird seal. He would give just about anything to have it removed. As you are aware, there is no current method to remove the seal. However, I have asked Master Jiraiya, my old master and the best seal master around, to look into finding a way to remove it. I have faith that he will be able to do so, and once that day comes, I fully intend to have yours removed. Neji was speechless. The head of the main branch was actually looking for a way to get rid of the seal that practically subjugated the branch families. But, why, was all he could say. I will admit my reasons at first were rather selfish, explained Hiashi. At first, it was because I didn't want either of my daughters to suffer the fate. For the past few years, I figured that Hanabi would be the heir unless Hinata began showing some potential, which she did these past few months. The one thing I have always regretted, and you have helped me see this, was that the whole idea of the caged bird seal drove my brother and I apart. I didn't want to see my daughters suffer that same fate, as the day would most likely come where they would have to compete against one another as to which became the heir and which one was sealed. I realized that there was no way I could let that happen. I see, replied Neji. So you were looking for a way to save your daughters from that fate should the day come that it befell one of them. Yes, that was my original intentions. However, with the recent activities of the elders, if that seal is not removed, they could potentially drive this family into ruin, especially you, said Hiashi. Me? Asked a surprised Neji. Yes. You were born into the branch family, unable to become the heir, yet it is obvious that you have more potential than anyone in this clan. I can't let the elders take away the opportunities that you still have, and this is now something I want to do, for my brother and the one who reminds me so much of my brother, explained Hiashi. Neji felt a few tears come to his eyes as Hiashi mentioned his father. Like I said before, I have dealt with the elders for now and you shouldn't have to worry for a while. I am also offering to take you as my student to learn the techniques of the main family. Now Neji was shocked. Hiashi had just offered him all the Hyuga techniques. No longer would he have to reverse engineer them like he did with the Kaden or the 8 trigrams. Neji gratefully accepted Hiashi's offer. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.